How's it going, guys? Hope you're doing well. My name is Max Crone, and this is Estate Mate. Today, we have the opportunity to speak with Brian Quick. He is a real estate agent and content creator in North Carolina. Yeah, glad to have you on, Brian.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here. Super stoked and just blessed and thankful to be here.
Good stuff. So, I want to start this off with just kind of talking about how you started in real estate, kind of how and when you started in the real estate.
Yeah, for sure. So before I did real estate, I was a professional touring drummer. I lived out in Nashville, Tennessee, touring all the time. My wife and I, we've been married 10 years this year, but at the time we've been married for, 7 years because I got my license in 2020. And so, I was on the road 3 weeks out of the month, and I wasn't seeing my family that much, my boys. And I've kind of checked off all the boxes of where I wanted to play. So I was like, it's time for a change. So I always just loved architecture and homes, and I'm a good communicator with people. I like people. So I was like, yeah, it sounds fun. And so it actually took me 5 times to get my license. I failed the test 5 times, 4 times
Oh,
passed.
wow.
Yeah. And the more I talk to people, that's very common, because that test is really hard. But once you're done with it, you never have to take it again. So finally got through it, and then it's just been sailing since.
Nice.
Yeah.
How old are your boys?
We have a 8-year-old and a 2-year-old. So
Okay.
technically both 8.5, 2.5, because their birthdays are in December. But yeah, we just make it even at 8 and 2, and they are totally opposite and totally a lot of fun and a lot of work.
Okay. That's funny. Um, yeah, so I don't mean to kind of get right into the like the personal side of things,
Go.
but I like to preface this by saying I myself have had a pretty gnarly setback as far as health, and I noticed on your Instagram that you did as well. Um, would you be comfortable kind of sharing that story?
100%. Absolutely, man. So I'm going to condense it down because it's about a year and a half story. So I'll try to condense it
Okay.
down to 3 to 5 minutes. So 2021 in March, I started having some hearing issues, and I literally thought it was just me having some, I guess, side effects of playing in arenas as a drummer, and just
Yeah.
kind of hearing loss and just that. So I kind of just brushed it off, and it progressively got like worse, and it started just not being able to hear people very well. And then I started to develop a cough, and like a bad cough, and of course 2020 COVID hit, and everybody assumed it was COVID. And I took COVID test after COVID test after COVID test, and they all came back negative. I never had COVID. So I knew it was something else. But me being stubborn, I refused to go to doctors. I was just like, I'll feel better. It's no big deal. And so around September, I started to just have terrible coughs, losing more hearing, started to feel fatigued all the time. I'm talking like I would wake up in the morning and feel like I haven't slept at all. It was just like exhausted. And that's just not really me. I'm kind of a go-getter, like to get up and go, and I don't stop until it's time to hit the bed. And so it was just still just progressively getting worse. So finally went to the doctor in September, and we did some scans, and they found nodules on my lungs. And they were thinking it was lung cancer. I don't smoke, but they actually said that over half of people who get lung cancer don't smoke. And so I had to go through some CT scans and some other treatments. It wasn't lung cancer, thank God. And they thought it was just some nodules there that had grown up from an infection or something. But so through that process, we were still going through appointments after appointments. Well, about November, I started to cough up a lot of blood, just consistently, just like blood on blood on blood. And
That's not good.
yeah, bro. And so that kept happening. Well, I kept seeing doctors, and we just couldn't figure out what was happening. So December 29th, that night, I coughed up 2 paper towel full rolls of blood. Like literally like full
Jeez.
paper towel rolls, 2
Oh
of
my
them.
gosh.
I filled up a whole trash bag full of just bloody paper towels. So I went to the hospital that I told my wife, I was like, we got to go to the ER. So I went to the hospital December 29th, and that's the last thing I remember until January 15th.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, so during that period of December 29th and January 15th, they had to intubate me. I died 3 times. I coded literally
Oh
flat,
my, oh
literally
my
flatlined
gosh.
3 times. During that time, for them to get me back alive, they had to essentially do, I don't know exactly what they did, but they did something to try to get me going again, and my heart didn't like it. Within that, I had a heart attack. Um, I was, let's see, I was
Gosh.
30, I was 30 at the time when that happened. And so sorry, I was making sure my age was right. Yeah. Anyways, and so I don't remember anything from that time period. So we live in Lake Norman, Mooresville area. So we went to Lake Norman Hospital. During that time, they transferred me over to Duke Hospital, and I was at Duke from January 5th. Well, no, sorry, I was at Duke from January 2nd to about February 4th or 5th. And then I had to go to a rehab center because I was intubated for so long, and I had gotten so sick and died, and all the things that I had to relearn how to walk, relearn how to talk, relearn how to eat, and relearn how to be pretty much be a
Yeah,
human, essentially a baby at
that's
30. Technically by then my birthday is February 3rd. So by the time I was in the hospital, I turned 31 at the time. And so I was pretty much a 31-year-old baby. And so just getting up to like walk like it was a struggle, like I couldn't do it. There's a video somewhere out there that shows me standing up for the first time, and I literally was like done. But I in that period of time being at Duke, they put me on a ventilator. I maxed out the ventilator, so they were like, okay, we got one more option, and that is a thing called ECMO. And I never heard of ECMO until I was there. But ECMO is essentially what it does is, because what took the biggest hit was my lungs and my kidneys. Um, and so what ended up happening, what ECMO does, essentially, they put a tube in through your neck, they put a tube in right under your belly button. And what it does is it cycles the blood out of your body into this machine. And this machine is acting as a lung. And so it's breathing for
wow.
me. It's breathing for me essentially to give my lung a break from having to
Yeah.
work. And so it's cleaning out the blood as it's doing that and going right back into my body. Um, Insane.
Oh my
And so,
gosh.
yeah. So I was on ECMO, and they told my wife, they're like, if this doesn't work, there's nothing else we can do. Like, this is it. And so I maxed out the ECMO machine. Um, Sorry about that. I maxed out the ECMO machine, but somehow I pulled through. And rest
Wow.
is pretty much history. After that, I had to I had to go through rehab, and went to a rehab center and stayed there for a week or two, and then finally got to go home. So I was in the hospital in rehab probably for around 2 months total. And then I wasn't allowed to work again and get back to the grind of, well, they technically thought it was going to be a year, because they told me it was going to be a year for me to walk again. And but I was actually back in the gym by June, which is just
Wow.
insane.
Yeah, that's that's
So
pretty great.
I graduated like therapy. I graduated therapy in June, and then I was good to go from there. So yeah, man, it's
Wow.
wild.
That is wild. I saw I knew like, a very basic rundown because of your content,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. Oh,
Um
so I forgot to tell you what actually I had. So um
okay.
yeah. So what was like the cause of it? So I am diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called vasculitis. I still have it, but it's pretty much tamed right now. I go every 6 months for an infusion, and that's pretty much keeping it at bay. But
Okay.
really rare. It's not hereditary. It just, we don't know why it happened or how long I've actually had it. We don't know. But we know we have it treated now. But that was the problem, was I went so long undiagnosed. It was at the end for me.
Yeah.
So we just happened to catch it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
W-
crazy.
Wow. Yeah, that is pretty crazy. And recovery is like good now. Are you feeling just about as
Yeah,
good as
man.
you ever have, or
Yeah, I drink a lot of caffeine
okay.
to combat fatigue because I still have fatigue sometimes. Um,
Okay,
yeah, I don't have any pain. I'm not spitting up or coughing up blood anymore or anything like
that's
that.
good.
I do have some like skin on my head issues sometimes pop up, they can flare up, but it's that if that's the least of it, I'm cool with it. Um,
Yeah.
I only have one vocal cord that works now, because when they put the ventilator in, it damaged my right vocal cord, so that doesn't work anymore. So I only have one vocal cord. So you
That's
wouldn't
crazy.
notice it talking to me like over this, but if I were to have to like yell at you over a room, I wouldn't project. And
Okay.
I'm 70% deaf in my left ear. So
Oh
that,
wow. So
yeah. So besides that, as long as you're talking to me on my right side, I'm good. Um,
okay.
yeah,
It's 70% cat scratch fever or whatever it's called.
yeah. So if I don't want to hear something from someone, I just turn to the left side and I'm good to go.
That's that's smart. I guess it, silver lining and everything.
You gotta find the pros out of it. I'm alive, and that's what really matters.
Yeah.
I'm alive. I'm walking. I'm able to talk. I'm able to do business. I'm able to be a dad and husband and do all the things. So, a little deafness and one vocal cord ain't gonna hold me back.
Yeah. Have you have you met anyone else with the condition that you have?
No,
Or
I mean,
okay.
I've met a few people online, like just over Instagram. But I've
Mhm.
never actually like met somebody tangibly in like real life and met them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um I had a not similar situation, but to the point of like relearning how to walk. I also had to um I'll kind of back up. So I was in
Yeah.
Breckenridge
Please. Yeah.
for for the winter season of 2020 and 2021, or no, 2021, 2022, that winter season.
Yeah.
And long story short, uh I got into a snowboarding accident, and I was essentially paralyzed from the neck down.
Mm.
And luckily it wasn't that bad when like I say it wasn't that bad compared to, you know, most other spinal cord injuries.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I was in there for I was in rehab for probably 2.5 months, 2.5 months, something like that. And but yeah, I can definitely empathize on relearning how to walk, relearning how to eat. Um
Yeah.
Lots of it's even down to like being able to swallow.
Yeah.
Um yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy.
It definitely it shows you how it gives you some insight on how, every part of your body has a purpose. And when one's not working as well, it it shows you how like much you need that core muscle or whatever it is
Yeah.
that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Um what would you say, I have like a few takeaways from my experience. What do you think biggest takeaway is from your situation?
Yeah, man, that's something I've had to think about and got to think about a lot. I still think about it every day.
Yeah.
I think for me, just slowing down and being more appreciative of the little things that I have. I know that's such a like a cliche answer, but it really is true though. Like um just being able to get up and go to the refrigerator myself and get something to eat or get something to drink or drive by car. Just those things are different for me because when I was going through that, I wasn't able to do that at all. And the only thing I wanted to do was be able to be independent and walk and go to the shower myself or go to the fridge myself or get in and out of bed without having to have somebody grab my arms and pull me up. It's those little things
Yeah.
that sometimes we just totally take for granted, man. We really do. And it's just one of those things. It's kind of like, man, I sometimes I'll open up my fridge. I'm like, oh, I can open up my refrigerator. Like, wow, this
Absolutely.
is so nice, man. I don't have to ask somebody to do something for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's similar with yeah, my experience as well. It's like yeah, just like you said it really well. The little things, like being able to, being able to be independent, eat by myself, go for a drive, go for a walk even.
Yeah.
Like there was a really there was a pretty long portion of time where I was like I was going on walks just because it was, I don't know, I didn't get to for a little bit, and it
Yeah.
was like this is truly amazing, you know.
Yeah, I had that kind of moment last week as we went to Myrtle Beach with our family and on vacation, and I like to do a little bit of fishing. And so this was the first time I've actually got to go like fish on my own. Well, no, first time I've gotten to fish since getting sick. And I was like, man,
Mm.
I'm just back to life, man. Like, you know, I had that moment for a few minutes where it was just, you know, my dad grew up at the beach. He passed away a couple of years ago with cancer. And so it was like, it was like, man, I'm like connected again with the ocean. I'm connected with the earth. Like I'm out here doing my thing. I feel like I'm just having a moment with my dad. Like it was a crazy moment.
Oh,
You know?
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was cool, man.
Yeah, very cool. um so kind of not really switching gears, but along the same lines, I guess, what do you say, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of like the term, what's your why?
Yeah.
um yeah, what do you think your why is it the like the newfound appreciation of the small things, or yeah, what do you think that is?
Yeah, man. So for me, you know, my why for what I do now in real estate or for whatever I'm doing is really to prove to myself that I can do it. Honestly, I mean, that may sound selfish, but if I can prove to myself that I can do it, everyone else around me is benefiting from that. You know, so it's the most selfish thing I can say about my why. Because if I'm succeeding, my kids are succeeding, my wife is succeeding, my clients are succeeding, my agents on my team are succeeding, everybody's succeeding. And when I am failing, that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay to fail because when I'm failing, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm in, you know, doing something that's helping me grow. Because if I'm not failing, I don't know, it's weird. I actually genuinely love to fail. I love when things don't work out some way sometimes because it's like, okay, wow, I learned a way not to do it. You know, there's a quote from Thomas Edison. You know, he's like, I didn't fail 1,000 times creating a light bulb. I just figured out 1,000 ways not to create it.
Hmm.
You know, and so I really think about it that way. I'm like, oh man, that didn't work in the prospecting or the call. This hasn't worked over like a week. Well, obviously, I've learned not how to do it, which is a great thing because now I'm not going to make that same mistake again. So for me, my why is learning to fail, to grow, to help others avoid that failure. My kids, my wife, my agents, everybody else.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, I actually like that a lot. I don't think I've heard that
Yeah.
um that reasoning, but that's good. um there was something about failing. It was like, uh I can't remember the exact quote, but it was essentially the more you fail, uh like the less times, or the fewer times you have, or the fewer options. I don't know how to, oh crap, I can't remember how to put it,
Okay.
but
I
it was
understand where
just,
you're going with that, though. I understand where you're going.
yeah, you
Yeah,
have
the
fewer
more you fail,
opportunities to go wrong.
right, exactly, right, right. The only caveat to that is if you're not realizing you're failing or learning how to change it, which
Yeah,
unfortunately a
absolutely.
lot of people are do that. A lot of people don't
Hmm.
realize that they are failing and they think it's just taking time, but really it's just never going to work. You got to learn how to decipher whether, okay, this is just going to take time for it to work or it's just not going to work. You have to be able to learn how to decipher that and pursue that in the correct and more organic way.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about something that seems like it does work for you specifically pretty well. Your content. I personally really enjoy your content. How do you continue to make, good content, week over week, day over day sometimes?
Yeah, it can be, you know, a lot of people struggle with like just what to post, what to go with that, and that's fine. I think that's like it's kind of like the failure part of it. Like when you struggle, you start to get curious, you know, and so you have to really dig. And for me, you know, I talk about things I want to talk about, honestly. And I talk about it comes to that selflessness thing. I talk about things that I want to talk about. I talk about things that I just learned. Because like I'm a type of person that, you know, when I read a book and I learn something, I want to tell somebody, oh, listen to this fact. Like, I mean, I'm reading this book right here. It's about the Wright brothers, and my son and my wife do not give a crap about anything the Wright brothers have done.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, the bibliography, they don't care. But I'm like, hey, did you realize that the first time they actually flew was in France, not America? You know, they're like, oh, that's great. You know.
Yeah.
But so for me, it's like when I learn something, I'm like, I want to share that with people. But for me also, so you know, when you get a lot of people around you and your agents and your team or your clients or whatever it is that may be, you hear what questions they're having or problems they're having, you know, and it's really just listening to people and what they're going through. You know, one of the things that I don't know if this is the direction you want to go with this, but one of the biggest things I see that realtors post that really just like cringes me is just like, hey, if you want to sell your house, give me a call. And that's their post. And I'm like, why would I call? You know, like you're just telling me to call, but why should I call you over A, B, or C other agent, right? And so I think about that when I'm posting, no matter if it's about my team or if it's about real estate or if it's about money. I'm like, why do they want to hear about this? You asked me a minute ago, like, what is my why? Well, what is the why of each post that I'm posting? And, you know, and so I think about that every time I post is the why. And a little thing that I actually do that not many people know um is I believe in like not reinventing the wheel per se, you know, like just kind of get inspiration. So every single week I find somebody that I like really like or look up to or jive with on social media, and I look what they post and then I recreate it in my own way and use that as the post. And so, you know, it could be like Dwayne Johnson or The Rock, or how does it have to be with anybody, you know, that's necessarily real estate related. But I try to find ways it's like, oh, cool, he did some kind of video, you know, that is about his Zoa company. Oh, cool. I wonder how I can recreate that into like a real estate post. And so I try to find creativity in other people's posts to make it my own. And that really just keeps birthing ideas and more ideas and more ideas.
Yeah, that's really cool. So what was your what's this week's or this like last couple weeks creator that you're looking at
So
or
this week's inspiration is Aaron Kraskell.
inspiration?
Aaron,
Aaron Kraskell?
yeah, he's a comedian.
Okay. I'm not
Yeah,
familiar. I'm gonna have to
yeah,
check that out.
yeah. He's a comedian where he finds like the most ridiculous videos that people are being very serious about, and recreates them in his own, like pretty much mocks them, but not makes fun. He doesn't make fun of them. He just redoes it in his own way that it's like terrible. You know,
Okay.
you know, I mean, like for example, you know, there's a girl in a garage singing a song really, really good. Well, he reenacts it and does it, but he's terrible.
Oh,
It's
yeah, I
funny,
can see how
you
that could
know.
be good.
Yeah. Or like his one that really got famous that made him like really big was you know, the rap song or Rap God or whatever from Eminem.
Mhm.
And he like goes like flying for like the last verse. It's just like fast rapping. Well, like he put like AirPods in and like went to people out in public and just like started recreating it out loud, pretending that like he couldn't hear how loud he was saying it. And it's just bad.
Huh.
And so it just does stuff like that. It's really funny. And so like it's really about creating humor. And so I was like, how can I create humor in real estate? Because real estate is kind of boring, if you want to be honest with, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, and so you got to create that funness. And so I was like, that's kind of, so Eric Kraskell is my guy this week.
Okay. That's cool. I like that because like you said, real estate can be boring.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, get a little pep in it. Um, so what do you use to create your reels? This is kind of a selfish question, but do you just do it right on Instagram or
Nope. So what I do is I'll just give you my whole entire system that I do.
yeah.
And it really depends on if It really depends on if I'm using audio from Instagram or my own audio as well. But so I'll do both ways. So obviously you want to record in vertical. So I record vertical and I have like a ring light and my little setup here or whatever. I don't use any fancy camera. I literally use my iPhone 14 Pro. And so what I do is I'll create the video just like on my phone in my videos. I always use it in I always use it in cinematic. So that's one reason why if you don't if you want to get a good video, get the phones that have cinematic. So I'll always put it on cinematic and record it, right? So once it's recorded, I purchase I'm a subscriber to this app called Captions. And it's like $49 a year or something, like super
Oh,
cheap.
okay. Yeah.
And I import it into Captions, and that's what creates like the cool like fonts on the screens that you can put emojis and video and all that in it. And so I plug it into that, and you can pick your type of caption you want on it, your colors, and it's based on AI. So like it'll like pick it up really well, and it'll cut like blank spots. If I'm like, "Hey guys, how you doing?" It'll cut that little blank so it's like nice and smooth.
Oh, wow.
You know,
That's pretty cool.
so, and dude, you can do, I shot a YouTube video, like a 20-minute YouTube video, and I just plugged it in the app and it did the whole YouTube video for me.
Wow.
So so it's like $50 a year, I think. So I just pay that for the year and I'm good to go. So I plugged that in there. And then, let's say I'm using the Reels music. So then I just plug it into Reels, put the music behind what I want to do. And then I use a free, well, you could pay for it, but I don't pay for it. I just use the free app called Trello. And what that is here, if you could see this. So I have Instagram, Facebook, I think that's LinkedIn, YouTube Shorts. So anyways, all the social media platforms that I use. And I literally just plug them in. And then right here is where I write like the caption that I'm going to use and stuff. And then so I'll have like Thursday's reel at this time. And so I'll look into my what's it called? Sorry, I'm blanking on the term for it. I look into the like the data of what it's called, the professional dashboard, and I'll see like when my followers are like most active, and then I'll schedule it for then. And I'll just post it through there, and I'm pretty much done. It's pretty simple. But
That sounds pretty
captions
simple.
work so well, man, and it takes your videos to another level, and it's worth every little penny. It really is.
Huh.
I'm not sponsored or anything by them. I'm just a normal user.
You should see if they have an affiliate link because I'm considering it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. But right now, I mean, they haven't ever reached out to me, and I usually like to let that happen organically.
Okay. And how long have you been using that?
Probably 2 months, not very long.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, it was something my partner or one of my partners recommended me using just to kind of take it to the next level, and it's really no more work to do it. Cause like,
You
like
just
for a
plug it
while
in
there,
and then it gives it to you.
it does it. It automatically, it
Wow.
takes literally like maybe 2 minutes for it to do it. And you're
That's
done.
wild.
You don't have to go into your video editing software. I use CapCut on my computer for that. You don't have to go in and like type the words or anything. It's nothing like that. So
Okay.
it's really smooth. And you could just plug it in and you're good to go.
Okay. Yeah, I'm using CapCut right now, but and that's even, the auto text, like the auto caption thing, that the function that it has, like, it's working really well for me, but it does take some additional time, especially if I film, if I film a podcast and then I have 7 clips I wanna caption. It's like
Yeah.
that takes a little bit
Yeah,
going into each
exactly. And
one.
so you could plug it into Captions, export it on your phone, airdrop it into your computer, and put it in CapCut, and they'll be there already, and it just is already ready for you. And then you can cut how you
Okay.
want to cut.
I see.
you know.
Interesting. I'll have to look into that.
I use CapCut for my YouTube videos for my long form. Um,
Okay.
and I used to pay for Adobe, and I found that like I'm not a video editing guy. Like I know bare minimum with that. And I found I was like, I'm not using Adobe to its fullest potential or for what I'm paying it for, and
Yeah.
so it's just like, I stopped that subscription just because I didn't feel like I was using it enough for the money. I'm
Yeah.
not, like I said, I'm not a video engineer or anything like that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. If you don't need Premiere Pro unless you're making like films,
Right. Right.
if you're just making social media stuff, CapCut is perfectly fine.
Yeah, and I don't expect, and if I have a video that like is going to be like really serious, like it needs time, our team supplies a video editor that we use, and I'll just
Okay.
send it to him and he'll do the whole thing. And I think we pay like 250 a month for 4 or 5 long form videos. So it's
Oh,
like,
okay. That's pretty good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So if it's like super intense and like I need it really nice, I'll send it to him.
So that could be like a property video, like if you want to shoot a
Property tour, or community tour, or if it's like a EXP explain call type thing or something like that. That's gonna take some time. That's gonna have like a lot of
okay.
like cuts and stuff, not just like one long form video. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay.
we'll outsource it. If you're a real estate agent or a podcaster or whatever you do, I found that it's worth to outsource it if you can do it. Um,
Hmm.
Especially if if you're not good at it or is not as good as somebody else. Like I know that I'm not as good as he is. So,
Hmm.
I'm willing to give it to the reins to the pro.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually used to shoot real estate videos, and yeah, I can tell you if you're not doing it a lot, you're
Yeah.
gonna have probably 10-15 hours of editing for some real estate videos if you want them to look nice.
Yep.
Um, yeah, from the whole color correcting
All
thing, the
that.
selecting the video, chopping it up, um, yeah, time
And then
ramping
and
and
then
like
if you really want
music,
to be
all
good,
that stuff.
if you really want to be good, you outsource it even more to like I hire somebody to come out and film it because
Okay.
they do like drones and like actually get the shots and all the
Hmm.
good stuff, and so what you needed anyway.
Yeah.
So, I pay them to do the photography and the video at the same time, and we got two birds with one stone. You
Yeah,
know,
that's pretty good.
yeah, it's the way to do it if you can do it. I mean,
Hmm.
if you're just a new agent and you're just starting out, and you don't have a big budget, I still advise you to pay somebody to do professional pictures. Like
Okay.
that can make or break you making a good listing selling. Because
Mhm.
I've been in more than I can count houses where it's like these pictures are really, really bad. And you don't even want to go see the house because of the pictures, And
Yeah.
so like, don't go out with your iPhone and take pictures. Even if the pictures might be decent, don't do it. And even if
Mhm.
you have a nice camera, don't do it. Have somebody who can like literally go in and do it right. Just do it. I mean, it might cost you 200, 250, but it's worth it if you could make that and more on your listing and your sale and just write it back off.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I have a friend that does professional photography, and uh I've like seen the process and I've tried to learn it myself. It's so difficult. Like you have to set your camera on a certain mode. It shoots like 3 or 5 different pictures, and
yeah,
then you need to put it in a software to put it all together, and then it just creates one picture. And you need like, yeah,
exactly. And you got to have the right
it's
light.
worth,
If you're using natural light, you got to be out there at certain times of the day.
yeah.
There's a lot that go out into it. And then like, although I'm a real estate agent and I know like the anatomical structure of a home, a photographer knows that plus the best way to get the best shot of the house, you know,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so, that can make a difference, 2 or 3 feet left or right can make a big difference of the way a room looks,
Oh, absolutely.
you know?
Um, yeah, even in my videography days, um I had this sun tracker app, so I knew what time, like, or where the sun was in the sky,
Yeah.
and I could, like, it had a map, so I could go to the house on a Google Earth view, and then I could see where the sun was going to be at that time, and like whether the front door is like you walk or like south to north to go in, north to south. It and
Yeah,
I can't
yeah,
even
yeah.
imagine what like more professional people
Right.
are doing.
Exactly. So,
Um,
and I'm not going to try to do that. So just
mhm,
outsource.
exactly, exactly. Um, let's talk about uh your team and how to kind of get started as a real estate agent. Let's just say someone listening wants to become an agent. Um, how do you like what's the first step?
So let's talk about first, if you want to get your license first before the team thing.
Yeah,
That's all right.
good
That's all
idea.
right. So, it's different for every state. So, I don't want to speak on other states. So I'll just speak on North Carolina and Tennessee because I actually got my license in Tennessee first in Nashville. So
Okay.
you usually have to take two tests. You usually have to let me go back even further. When you first start, you're going to need to go to a school. You can either do it online or in school, like actual tangibly there. Some people love to be there with the desk and paper and pencil and have an instructor teaching them right then and there. I don't prefer that. I like the online path where I can kind of take it at my own pace and do my own thing with it. I find that it just connects with
Mhm.
me better. So you could do either one, but usually it's 90 hours total of schooling, in order to get to that point. Now, and during that school, you got to pass like micro test in order to get through that. It's just like school, and then you have to take an exam at the end of that test, depending on the school you go to. Um, and then you get to go take the big boy test. And that is usually a state portion and a national portion. So the national portion is usually like real estate in general, like that kind of connects like overall, like what's the same here in California, et cetera. And then
And
you take
that's always in person.
that's
Sorry to cut you off.
always, no. That's always in person. Yeah. Usually you'll go to like a
Okay.
center or something and they have computer booths and I'm not a test taker, so I hated it. Like I just
Yeah.
as soon as I sit in that booth with that computer and hit like put my information, I'm just like nervous. I'm not a test.
Yeah.
I hate that. And so you take that and then you also have to take a state portion, which is more like the laws of your state's laws in real estate because it may differ for each state, right? So the national portion is like 2 or 3 times longer than the state portion. Usually that state portion is only like 40 questions. I think my national was like 120 or 130. Um, Now the real estate exam is not easy. They like to make questions that are like, wait, both A and B are the exact same. Like I'm so confused which one it is. So you have to be very careful and read the questions very carefully. So I'm going to kind of give you my example of like what I mentioned earlier that it took me 5 times to take the exam. So when I first went in to take my exam, I finished my schooling. I went in, I was ready to go, pumped to get my license and get started. I go in and I passed the state version right off the bat. Done. Awesome. I failed the national version. So I was like, oh crap. So the first time you fail a test, you can go back as soon as you want. I can go back the next day, the next week, whatever. I can go back. So I go back like 3 days later. I kind of do a little bit of studying. I go back, take the national, just the national, because I didn't have to take the state, and I failed the national again. And now this time, once you fail it the second time, you have to wait 30 days to take the exam. So I had to wait a whole nother month. And so, yeah, so I had to wait a whole nother month to take the national. And so I studied and studied all that month, went back and took the national, failed the national again. Um, Now, once you fail the test 3 times, whether or not you pass the other one, you got to take both again. So I was
Oh
like, oh
gosh.
man, right. So I had to wait another month and retake the national and state again. This is my 4th time. Okay. So I go in there, I take the exams, I pass the national finally. but I failed the state.
Oh my gosh.
The one that I had already passed the first
Of
time.
course.
Of course, right? So I had to wait another month to take it again. And this time I had to come back for the 5th time to take the state, and I finally passed the state, and I was done finally.
Wow.
I could have a lot of people give up during that time period. The most
Yeah.
I'll be honest, like very rarely have I talked to people. They're like, oh yeah, I passed on both. It was easy. Most of the time people are like, it took me 2 or 3 times to get it done, because it is very hard. But don't let that intimidate you, because it's good to get through it and do it. But the real experience comes when you get into the game. And then as for schooling as a real estate agent, besides that, you just got to do your continuing education every year, which is about 8 hours. Now, you also have to do 90 hours of post licensing as well, one time, and that's your first year.
Okay.
And it's essentially the same thing that you learned in pre-licensing. You're just relearning it again. And you do have to take another recorded test again to do that. But this time you don't have to be in person. There's like a monitor they use like on your phone, and they just watch your computer.
I see.
But that is a little stressful as well, but you have 180 days to get it done. So you
Okay.
got to take a break and a breather from the test, get some experience for a couple months, and then start your
Come
post.
back to it. Yeah.
But once you finish your pre-licensing and you get your license, and then you finish your post-licensing, you're done with all the testing except for the CE every year.
Continuing.
Yeah, but the continuing education is not very stressful, because they don't do you don't have to pass a test to do it. You just got to just answer questions. You still have a little test, but dude, just get through it. It's not like going to determine whether you lose your license or not, unless you just don't ever pass it. But
Okay.
yeah, so again, though, it's different in every state, but that's usually the basis probably of every state of how it works. Everybody has to take a national and a state, and it's not fun.
Okay.
But once you get through it, you're through it. Just don't, you have to really be passionate about what you want to do. Because if you're like on the fence about becoming a real estate agent, you're probably not going to do it very well.
Yeah. That
So,
makes sense. So when you get your license, then I'm under the impression you need to kind of hang it with a brokerage.
yeah, you have to. So you're not a full broker yet until you get your post licensing done. So you have to hang your license somewhere with a brokerage you're essentially what's the word called? Starts with a P.
Contractor.
You're
Or
essentially God, what's the word called, man? I haven't been one of them.
P.
I think it starts with a P.
Um,
Shoot, I'm sorry. I don't. Anyways, you're not a full broker. Yeah. Oh, you're a provisional.
Okay.
Provisional.
Oh, I was gonna say practicing or something.
Yeah.
Provisional.
Provisional
Okay.
broker. That's what it is. So you're a provisional broker. As a provisional broker, you can't be like a solo agent. You have to be a part of like a team until you get your full broker license. And then once you
Okay.
get your broker license, you could join a team, or you could just be your own thing. You could do what you want.
Okay. So let's say you go ahead, you get your you pass the national and state, then it's the continuing education that you need to do.
Yeah.
And then once you complete that, then it's
once you complete your post licensing, then you are
post
full.
licensing.
Yeah.
So okay.
So CE and post licensing are totally, you have to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All that in that first year. The first year as a real estate agent is the hardest, because you're just getting started. It costs you money for school. It costs you money to get the exam. I had to pay $45 per exam every time I took it. So
yeah.
So it costs you money for the schooling, for the licensing, and then you're just getting started with your business, which most agents, the first year is the hardest, because you're just getting the groove of things. So most of the time, agents aren't coming in their first year and doing $1 million in GCI. Most of the time it's not happening. So you're probably not making too much money your first year, and you're still having to fork out CE class funding and post licensing funding. So you're spending some money that first year and probably not making a lot. But that second and third year, then you start really you start getting it if you are passionate about it and doing it the way you need to be doing it. If you can make it through your first year, you're okay. That's why I say it. And then if you make it through your first 5 years, then you're solid.
Okay.
But
And
it's all about how you surround, who you surround yourself with. It really is.
yeah, that makes sense. I've kind of been working on that myself a little bit. Um, so you said you started in 2020?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And
Started with Remax. I got my license and
oh,
then
okay.
joined Remax. And it just wasn't for me. That's all I can say. It's
Okay.
more Remax is more of a corporate vibe, which some people that works for. For me, I'm not that at all. I am 100%
Yeah.
entrepreneurial bred. And like I couldn't post like how I post now. I mean, I'm not saying anything negative about the brokerage or the team or the company, but like how I post now, I've got in trouble for posting like that on that team
Oh, wow. That's
because
kind of
because
crazy.
they want to keep the leads centralized within the company so they can track them.
And
Uh,
then they kind of shove those, they disperse them to other people.
Within the company, but I don't want to get too specific in that because I don't want
Okay.
to, I don't want to throw anybody under a bus. It's just they want it all under their umbrella.
Okay.
Essentially, from my experience, they want the leads coming through them because they can make more on the split side of it. Um,
Mm,
they don't want you producing your own leads, essentially.
okay.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
No,
So
that makes sense. Complete sense.
that wasn't for me. I wanted to, do my own thing, and I didn't mind them producing leads because it got me repetitions of working with people, especially as a new agent. So that's really a good thing as a new agent. Like
Hmm.
at that brokerage, I had leads coming in constantly that I could nurture and work with. I didn't have to worry about finding my own clients, which is
Okay.
really bittersweet though, because you're learning how to get clients. I mean, you're not learning how to get,
Nurture.
you're learning how to nurture clients, but you're not learning the art of doing and getting clients yourself, which is really easy to get trapped into that cycle of just letting people provide you leads, but you're losing money on the end game because you're paying for those leads for that
Hmm.
versus, what I'm saying? So versus having the option. So you're not really gaining the knowledge of how to market yourself. You're really only marketing the brand.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, that makes complete sense.
so
Oh,
you gotta kind of find that balance of like, okay, like just because I'm getting leads doesn't mean I need to not prospect on myself.
yeah. Let's talk about that side of things. What um I'm sure it was a little difficult. What do you think are the best outreach methods or just the best methods to generate new leads?
Yep. So I'll tell you what's worked for me. At that
Hmm.
that's the best thing to do because what works
Hmm.
for me may not work for somebody else, and what somebody else is doing may not work for me. So, like I have a lot of friends who they kill the business. They are making a ton of money doing for sale by owners. I hate working with for sale by owners. I just don't do it. I hate calling them. I hate doing it because I find that they're just for me they're harder to deal with. So I just don't do it. So for me, what I've found that works is one, your sphere of influence. I know every realtor talks about that, but it's a real thing. The first people you need to go to are the people you know. And that's the key right there is getting your name out and letting everyone in your Facebook following, your followers, whatever, let everyone know that you are a real estate agent and you are a top producer. I'm all about manifesting. I'm not about lying, but I'm all about manifesting. And so I tell all my new agents on my team, you are a top producer. Even though you just got started, you're a top producer because you have to believe that in order to become that, you know?
Hmm.
And so whether they've never sold a property or not, they're top producers. And so I get that ingrained in them. But that is a big thing is your sphere of influence. Now, some people again don't like this, but I love the art of cold calling. I do. I love it. Now I use a system called RedX. Um, so
Redx.
RedX is
It's like
literally,
power dialer or something.
I don't use the power dollar. They do have that option.
Okay.
I don't use the power dollar. Power dollar stressed me out. Um, I like to have organic conversations versus just like $10 going at one time. And I don't know, it just that thought just gives me like stress. So I
Yeah.
literally but what it is, I pay 119 a month for geo leads, and they give me 7,500 optional leads to get. Now I can use these leads in however I want to use them in my area. I can literally circle a whole development that I want to prospect, and that'll pull up their name, their number, and emails. It gives me all
What's
that
this called again?
huh?
Geoleads? What's this called again?
So
Geoleads?
Redx geo leads.
Geoleads.
Yep.
Huh. Huh.
So my goal and what I found is that before you start trying to be this like super rock star real estate agent for the world and country, you got to be that in your own area first. And so I want to be known everywhere in Mooresville and like Norman and Charlotte. I want to be known as the guy in that area, right? So the only way to be that is to have conversations. That's the only way to do it, is get in
Yeah.
front of people. So, I I get 75 leads a month through it, and I'll go in and I will circle all the luxury homes, lake homes, areas that I want to live because I want to be known as a luxury realtor. But then I also go around to homes that's like 350 to 600 because those are good too. I'll work with any of those as well. And literally I will call them, and you got to learn the art of cold calling. You got to learn it because it's not, I don't see any lead as cold ever. When I call somebody, I'm treating them like my best friend automatically. Now that comes from confidence. And that's something that I teach my team is like, you have to have confidence in yourself. And so, I like scripts. I think scripts are good to have as a basis, but you have to learn how to like improvise on that script. Um, and so that's one thing, that's one of my trainings I do every week with my team is improvisation on scripting. And so I
Okay.
thought that works really well. And so, I make these calls, and, most of the time I'll get emails, even though I already have their email, I like to confirm that with them. And then I'll put them on my email list for that area. They get an email every Friday and then one market update email a month. And I'm staying on top of mind every single week and month. Um, and another thing that I do what's called miniature billboards. Okay. And so I don't pay for big billboards. What I do is I ordered branding real estate agent signs. It brands me. And on that sign, it's just like a for sale sign. It looks just like that, but it's not a for sale sign. It's a branding sign. And on that sign, it's like, hey, I'll give you a free value on your home. And I have those everywhere, all over intersections of Mooresville. So when people are stopping by, they see that. And it's literally a much cheaper way to get billboards out there versus paying for a massive billboard.
Huh.
And yeah,
Mini
man,
mini billboards.
I call
That's
them, I call,
creative.
I call them mini billboards. And I'll every week I'll go pull them and I'll move them to a different area. And I'll just move them around Charlotte, Lake Norman, Mooresville,
Is
everywhere.
this private land or public land or
That's right. Yeah. I mean, like you do, like here in Moore,
just anywhere?
I don't know the rules in any other states, but here, like, you see people like for sale by owner signs or yard sale, like right. I mean, you can just put it right there on a little stake, and
Yeah.
I've never had a problem with it.
Okay. Interesting. That's kind of cool. I've never thought about that.
You have to,
Um,
you have to move them weekly though. The reason why, one, it gets your brand around, because I don't have like 100 signs. So,
mhm.
I don't want to spend that much money when I can just do it. But two,
Yeah.
not many people think about this, but my wife was actually the one that was like, you need to move this because of that. And I was like, oh, that's true. They have to mow that area. Well, those people do not
Yeah.
care about your signs. They will mow right around it and knock it down. So if you keep
Yeah.
moving it around, usually you'll avoid the mowing. Um,
Okay.
so yeah,
And stake it into as freshly mowed lawn as possible.
exactly. And then I even go a step further. If I don't have any listings, say I don't have any listings going on right now and I'm looking for listings, I'll even put one of my solar lights in front of it. So at nighttime, it's lit up on the sign
Ah,
so
yeah.
that people can see it too. But when I have listings, I light up my listing signs so that at
Okay.
night you can still see the listing, and it just looks cool. You have to find ways to stay out. And again, it's all about being the go-to top of mind guy. There's been times when it's like I'll cold call somebody in Mooresville, and they're like, Brian, I think I've seen your sign the other day. And it's like, oh, see, like there are it's connections already there.
Yeah.
And so,
There's oh, well, go ahead.
no, go ahead, you're good.
There's a I can't remember who. I think it was, his name is, oh, you know what? I have the ebook. There's this ebook that I downloaded. It's called the 7-layer lead nurture method.
Okay,
And I don't know if you've ever heard of Pima.io, something like that. Tim Dodd. I'm
okay,
looking at it right now. Tim Dodd. So he has this 7-layer lead nurture method where it's like it's essentially just touching a lead 7 times somehow. Or and if you can properly do that and every single interaction is positive
yeah,
and they have a need for your service, it's like it's supposedly a done deal. And that makes complete sense with what you're doing there. The more times that you touch them,
yeah.
um uh that sounds horrible, but in a marketing sense,
Oh yeah,
you know, you're increasing your odds
yeah.
uh
Because I mean, the thing
drastically.
here, thing is like people go the same way every day to work. People go the same way home or to their restaurants, and so every single time they pass your sign, that's a touch. That's a touch.
And they might pass it 2 times, you know, like you
Exactly.
just said. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're touching them 2 times a day.
Yeah.
You know?
That sounds horrible.
Um,
Um,
but it's all, it's about that, and I'm
mhm.
huge on follow up. The sales and the follow up. I'm sure you've heard that. You know,
Yep.
I use my CRM and I follow up. I follow up on my email list weekly. They get 5 to 6 touches with me on my email list every single month. I'll depending on where we're at with the client, I'll call them every 30 days or text them every 30, even if they're still getting the emails, I'll still do that. If it's a client's like, yeah, we're thinking about buying next year, I'll reach out to them probably every quarter. I'm constantly following up with that. And I time block that into my schedule. Like literally my schedule every day, it's like follow up time. And I'll literally just
Okay.
follow up. That's my follow up time.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah,
It sounds very organized.
you have to be organized. That's a big
Yeah.
thing. If you're not organized, it can become overwhelming and stressful. And it's really beneficial to get like things as automated as possible. And
Okay.
like I build out my email list once a month. That's it. What I mean by
Okay.
that is I create my emails for the whole month and on the first day of the month. Unless it's on like a Sunday, I'll do it the next day, but because I don't work on Sundays. That's one of my rules. Um, I build out what 10, 12 emails and then they're ready to go for the month scheduled. So I don't have to think about it anymore. And so,
That's
it's a great way to do it is batching. And I do that every week. So
mhm.
talking about social media as well, go back to that. I only shoot social media on Mondays. Mondays, if are my social media day, I'll spend all day on, I don't do any calls. I don't do any meetings. I don't do anything. I don't answer client calls. I don't do anything on Mondays. Every Monday is shooting for YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, all that now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Not Threads, not Threads, Threads and stories. Anything like a story base is live. I'll shoot.
Okay.
I don't batch out stories because it's more of like the what's happening in the moment. But
Yeah.
anything in feed base is batched out already at the beginning of the week.
Okay. Do you use Meta Business Suite for that, or does
No,
eXp have a good CRM for it?
EXP has a great CRM for it. Yeah.
Is that Wise Agent or is
No,
it
we
something
did
else?
before.
KV Core? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
So
Um, what were we gonna say?
you're good. It comes with being an agent at EXP.
Okay, nice. So along with being an agent at EXP, what are some of the like differentiating factors from EXP and let's just say Remax or some of these other companies?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is ownership. It's the very first thing I would say. So EXP is a publicly traded company. So whenever you close deals, you can automatically get stock in the company every time you close deals. EXP is so we're on an 80-20 split with a 16,000 GCI cap. Once you hit 16,000, you go 100% commission. EXP's, as far as I know, EXP is the only brokerage in the world that fully reimburses your 20% back to you in the form of company stock. So that 16,000 that
Wow.
you paid the company, you get that back once you hit a certain milestone in sales. They give it right back to you in stock. I
Huh.
mean, so for example, I'm not gonna give you the exact number, but
Mhm.
let's see. Since I've started EXP, the commissions that I've earned that's been put in ownership of the company has went up 137%. So
Wow.
so that's gaining that ownership in that company. So you're not an agent, you're an owner agent. You own part of this company, right? And so that's a big deal, especially for me as someone who likes to do things ethically. As real estate agents, we are pressing buyers, not pressing, but we are talking to buyers who rent about ownership and why it's so important to buy, and how you have your own home and you do your own thing and you have ownership in your home. But then we go back and we're renting our brokerage, so you're renters as
Mm.
in yourself, but you are pressing people to buy and get out of renting. So for me, it's like, if I'm telling a buyer to be an owner, I want to be an owner in my own home and in my company. And so that's one of the biggest things with EXP is the ownership of it. Another thing that I would say EXP, I will say, I don't want to just pop out all pros about it because I want to be realistic. One of the negative things about EXP is, well, two things actually. One, the onboarding process is not very good. So our team has developed an onboarding process. So if you were to join our team, the Wolfpack, we can help you with that. Because EXP's regular onboarding is not very good at all. And so that's kind of frustrating when you're joining the company. But secondly, if you get the wrong sponsor, that could be make or break your experience. And so what a sponsor is somebody who, when you join EXP, you have to have a sponsor who would join EXP. So I'm going to use you for an example, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So if you are like, hey, Brian, I want to join your team and be on EXP, I'd be like, all right, cool. I would send you an email with a link. You would join EXP and I would be your sponsor. Okay. Now, a lot of times sponsors just sponsor people because they want to get the rev share passive income side. And that is a no-no, because we make money off the EXP portion, not off the agent portion. But we want you to succeed. But if you don't have that structure from a sponsor, it can be pretty bad by yourself. So, but a good sponsor is a great thing. A bad sponsor is not a good thing. So it's very important, whether you join my team or someone else, that they're going to be a good sponsor, because that can make or break it. And so the way the sponsorship works is, do you know much about the rev share side of the sponsorship thing?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
No.
So let's say you join my team and you're my sponsor. Okay. You're what's called you're a tier one agent on my team. You're like a top tier one. Okay. So let's say, for easy numbers, you close a $10,000 commission. Okay. You're on an 80-20 split, right? So 8,000 goes to you, 2,000 goes to EXP. Out of the 2,000 that goes to EXP, not out of your cut, out of the 20% that goes to EXP, I'll make 3.5% of that 10,000.
Oh,
So,
okay.
right. So I make $350 off of that deal, but not out of your cut, out of EXP's cut. Now, once you
Yeah.
cap at 16,000, you go 100%. Rev share there's no more rev share because it's
Okay.
all right. So I'm not making
Yep.
money off of your part. I'm making money off of EXP's part. So EXP, because we're cloud based and we don't have a brokerage, they're able to pay back the agents 50% of the profit, which is really cool.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
so you can see the value in that though. So, right. So
Oh yeah.
if I have 10 agents, now there's tiers 1, it goes all the way down to tier 7. They get deeper, it gets more as it gets deeper. Right. So if you were to bring on an agent on the team, they would be on your tier 1, they would be on my tier 2. Let's say that agent on your tier 1 closes a $10,000 commission, 8,000 goes to that agent, 2,000 goes to eXp. You make $350, 3.5%. I'll make 3.8%, $380. If that makes
Okay.
sense. So,
Yeah.
but just for like easy number, let's say I have 10 people on my tier 1, okay? And you guys cap. The cap is 2,800. So I would make 10, or you would make $28,000 a year passively without having to sell real estate, just because you have 10 people on your team.
Wow.
Residual,
Yeah.
right? So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, right. And so, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, some people get a bad sponsor, and that sponsor just like says peace, thanks, and then they make money and don't do any.
Without providing anything.
Right. So it's a big deal there. So that's why our team is so beneficial, because we provide 5 days a week training. We're always there. We're providing you, top of the line customer service there with it and everything we need. So, and so we think about that in a value. So, it's still really about that big sponsor that you can make or break it with eXp. But eXp offers that side. My partner on my team is making about $280K a month right now,
Oh, wow.
passively, just from the.
Wow.
He has it, he sells real estate when he wants to, not because he has to.
Mhm.
Right.
And how many people do you think he has? Or
We
I don't know
that's
if you
Mike.
can say that.
His name's Mike Sherrard. We have about 2,800 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's
Have you ever
I
heard
have
of Mike
heard of
Sherrard?
him. Yeah, I've heard of him for sure.
Yeah. So he's my partner.
Okay.
One of my partners on the team. Yeah. So, he's one of the co-founders of the Wolf Pack. So, everybody on the Wolf Pack is in his downline.
Okay. So
So,
he's kind of so he sponsored you, or are
so,
you
so I'm on his tier 2. So
okay?
Louis Galt is my sponsor. So when I close a deal, if I close a $10,000 deal, Mike makes $380.
Oh, okay.
Louis makes 350.
Okay.
And it goes out of the 2,000, it goes to the company, not out of the 80%.
Yep.
So that's the two things that I would say that differentiate. Oh, and then lastly, support. So that's a big deal. So when I was at Remax and I was at my boutique company, if I had an issue, I'd have to either call the broker or a trainer or somebody, or email them, hope I get an answer and hope they can fix it, or send an email and hope that they can help me or hope they can fix it. Or I would have to go to the brokerage office and hope that they can help or fix it. Right. So sometimes it would take a day or two to get a problem fixed. Well, at eXp, we don't have that problem, because we have what's called the verse. We have what's called the eXp world. And in the eXp world, there are over 900 paid staff in there. So I literally could, if I have a transaction problem, I could go into the world on my computer right here in my office, click transaction help. A professional transaction coordinator would be right there to answer any questions. It has never taken me more than 7 minutes to get a problem fixed. And I never had to make a call, an email, or leave my office at home. So it is insane.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. That sounds very futuristic, but
Very
I mean that
futuristic.
is the way things are going.
Sometimes
So
my wife will come in and I'll be talking. She'll be like, "Who you talking about?" Like, I'm in the world right now.
I'm I'm in the EXP verse.
Yeah, exactly. So those three things, ownership, passive income, and support set eXp off on a totally different world than any brokerage, hence the world there.
Yeah, 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 that sounds awesome. So if someone's listening, how do they get started? Do they reach out to you via Instagram or
Yeah, man. So first they have to be licensed. Make sure you're licensed.
Mhm.
First, you can't do anything until you get that license. But
Yeah, that makes sense.
if you're a licensed agent and you're brand new, you're looking to join somebody, or you are with a brokerage, you're ready for a move, the first thing I like to do first is not just get you to sign up. I want to meet you. I want to talk to you,
Okay.
I want to connect with you, answer questions live with you. So what you could do is you could either email me or reach out to me on Instagram. Those two are the best ways to reach out to me. So my Instagram handle is the Brian Quick. And then my email is brian.quick@exprealty.com. Pretty simple. And we'll reach out and then we'll book a call. We'll get on a Zoom call just like we're on right here. And we'll chat about questions, some issues that you're having or concerns. We'll get all those answered. And then once that happens and we feel ready to go and you feel ready to go, we'll send you the link and I'll walk you through getting signed up. It's really easy. And then once you join the team, we provide social media, full in-depth social media schooling. So we have a full social media course. We provide training every single day. I do a lot of cold call scripting calls trainings, and I also do a confidence booster training where it happens every week. We talk about it, and so there's enough training to get you started and fully producing. If you're not a capping agent on our team, then we aren't succeeding.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Before we end off,
yeah.
what are let's go with three. What are the three things from not licensed at all to on your team and successful? What do you think the biggest three steps are that you gotta take?
Okay, get your license, number one.
Get your license. Yep.
Number one, get your license. Actually, let me back up. Why? First, ask yourself why you want to be in real estate. Figure that out first. Two, then get your license. Three, I'm going to do four because it's really tough to get through.
Okay, yeah.
Three, join a team, aka my team. No, I'm just kidding. Go wherever you feel. And then four, communicate. Like you have to communicate, whether it's with your team or with people. If you're not talking, you're not succeeding. So you have to be, those are the four things. Everything else under communication lines with confidence, understanding why you're in the business, knowing your brokerage, knowing your market, knowing everything that you need to know, knowing how to get on social media. All that can come. That can be trained and taught within communication, but you have to be willing to learn that. So having that heart, but you need to get your license and you need to know why you're in the business, and you need to make sure that you are on a good team, whether that's my team, whether it's Remax, whether it's Cole or broker, whoever it is that you decide to join. You need to make sure that at the end of the day, that team is there for you and not just to make money off of you. Because that, it might feel fine at first, but after a while, you will start to sniff that out and you're going to wish you would have done something different with another team way earlier because you could have been way further. So you have to really be cautious of who you join. And if you're being cautious about joining my team, I praise that. Like, good job, because you need to be that way. It has to be the right fit. Has to be.
I love that. I love, all of the insight you've shared today. So you did mention how people can get in touch with you. Is there any other ways people can get in touch with you, or is it those handles that you provided earlier? If you
Yeah, I mean,
want to say them again real quick, be
yeah.
awesome.
So you're good. So you can reach out to me on my email. That's brian.quick@exprealty.com. You can reach out to me on Instagram at the Brian Quick. And shoot, I'll even give you my number right now. You could even, don't look at the number behind me because I've got to get I got a new banner on the way. But my new number is 704-677-4626. You could give me a call. You can shoot me a text message. Just let me know, hey, I heard from you on the podcast. I'd like to talk. That way I know which direction and what funnel you're coming through.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you again for all of the insight. It's been yeah, just as I said, extremely insightful. With that being said, everyone who's listening, feel free to share this, like this, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Comment if you want to see what you want to see in the future. But yeah, thanks again, Brian, for coming on.
100%, buddy. Thanks for having me.